Slow morning.
Slow morning. Okay, look at that. Hello, Marion. Marion is covering,
Yes.
carrying the mover of bricks and carrier of water as
Yeah, she
Melissa is
is.
vacationing. Good morning, Donna.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Okay, big day, big day, big day. Um,
Hold on, just give me a moment. Because I
okay.
wrote these a long time ago. Not a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago. Um, it was a couple weeks ago, but I just want to make sure I know what we're. This is the first one, and what we mean by planning. What is the book based on? Like, I don't know any of this, right?
Yeah,
Breaking down
right.
the
It feels like
impact.
somebody else wrote it.
I know. Oh, you added something, I think.
Yeah,
Maybe?
I told you.
Yeah. I know. Look at you. Oh, look at that. That's going to be fun. I can't wait to listen to you read. Um, this is why we wrote it, radical acceptance. Our mission is to help understand. Okay. I think I'm good.
Okay, but do you have any? Have you been watching anything? Do we have any entertainment clutch activity?
I stopped watching The Handmaid's Tale.
You couldn't do it. Yeah,
Well, it just started getting, it's just so dark.
that
And
reinforces me never watching it. It's fine. I'm
yeah,
glad to hear this. That helps me.
yeah, I just decided I wanted to watch something more light and fun. And so over the weekend, I just watched different movies.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I'm still having fun with Sunny, uh, which is the Apple TV Plus show with Rashida Jones and a robot.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like a murder mystery and kind of a thriller. And it's from the studio A24. I haven't finished it yet, so I don't know how it ends, but it's not, I have to imagine it's not as politically grim as Handmaid's Tale,
Oh,
but it's
I'm
still a little
sure
bit dark,
it's
just a
not.
little dark. But it's the right kind. And Rashida Jones, I love Rashida Jones. She's great. Look
All
at
right.
you.
Tech question. How do
Uh
I
huh.
get that to stop?
That's good. We like that.
Do we? Because
Yeah,
I move around a lot.
I know. So there is a way, but you have to do it through the app. Maybe I could teach you about that later.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a way I could just like click it.
Nope, there's no clicking.
Because I had to take the camera off of the prompter and put it back on my computer because it was so tall.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I was like this.
right. There's a lot of reset. I get it.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't remember. Did we talk about Deadpool Wolverine? Did I pitch that to everybody? Go see it if you like Marvel stuff because it's profane and funny and
Yeah,
violent.
you talked about it and you
Okay,
were
good. All
saying that
right.
it's kind of, yeah, that was funny and,
Yeah.
or had
I
funny
don't really have
parts.
anything else because we've
Oh,
just been watching the Olympics.
I did go see It Ends With Us with his wife, the movie.
Break Bradley?
Break
Blake
Lively.
Blake Lively?
Uh-huh. I did
I
go
haven't
watch
seen that.
that. Yeah.
Is it do we like it? Okay. Okay. So I shouldn't ask any more questions? No more probing questions?
I don't know. It was a book, and I never read the book, but I know other people that did, and everybody said the book was so much better than
Yeah.
the movie. But no, there were just some parts that I walked out and I'm like, that would never happen. That would never happen.
Mm.
It was
Do you
so
know
unrealistic.
Marion is in
There
here
is
saying,
one.
I saw that yesterday. Chills. Marion had chills.
Okay, but I have to ask Marion since she watched it. Does she believe that the husband would be at the hospital when he's holding his baby? Would he be like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I'm a horrible person and I shouldn't be a father. So here's your baby and we're going to get divorced and everything's going to be fine."
Okay. So now we're waiting for Marion to process that
Not that
question.
everything's going to be fine, but that he was going to willingly leave.
That made no sense.
Oh, it
Thank
didn't
you,
make any
Marion.
sense. Okay. It is about domestic violence.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'll probably spoil it for people. So if you want to watch the movie, don't listen to me for a second. So she has the baby. They're in the hospital room, and he is a violent person. And she says, I want a divorce. And he says, no, 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 don't leave me, don't leave me. And she's like, what would you say to your daughter if she comes home and this happened to her and this happened to her and this happened to her? And these were the three instances that happened to her in the movie with him being violent with her. And he says, I would tell him to leave, or I would tell her to leave him. And Blake Lively says, well, I want a divorce. And then he hands over the baby. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I just really did not believe that somebody who is willing to hurt another human being, hurt his wife, hurt the mother of his child, would that easily say, oh, yeah, you're right.
But you
I'm
can kind of
sorry.
tell what they were intending, right? Like you can kind of like it feels like that would be the narrative muscle that they want you to believe that it was the newborn baby that was the key to unlocking his violent streak, right? Like
Yeah.
I am with you hearing you talk about it and seeing how Melissa or Marion is writing about it in the chat. It doesn't make any sense and it seems like to
Yeah.
strain credulity, but I can see what they might have been trying for. It just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's the case. That's the piece. And I think
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the book was better than the movie.
Yeah.
Because everybody that has read the book said it goes into much more detail. There's a lot more things and
Yeah.
but yeah, the movie felt really like, for somebody who didn't read the book, it felt very um I just didn't love it. I didn't love it. I thought that they could have done a better job. I think they could have done better for victims. I think they
Hmm.
could have I just yeah, I don't know. It was disappointing,
Okay.
but
Well, I'll skip it.
yeah. Well, you might
But I'll
want to
tell you
watch it
what.
because you watch movies all the time.
Well, I do watch movies, but I will be busy this weekend because it's Alien Romulus weekend.
I don't know what
Yeah.
that is. And this
New
is
Alien
so
movie.
bothering me. I can't watch this thing about
Okay.
me moving
You
around.
want to open
Sorry.
the app is called Link 360,
I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted by
or I
me
mean
moving.
Insta 360 Link controller is what it's called, and
Okay.
it's
So
on your it should be on your
Insta.
system.
Yep. It's already there. All
Okay.
right.
And at the
So,
bottom, there are 4 buttons across the bottom. And the first one on the left is tracking. And you want to click that to turn it off.
okay. There are, oh, yeah. Okay. Tracking. Where are these little buttons?
Well, once you open the Insta360 Link controller app, you should see
Yeah,
your face in the
I
middle. And
do.
below, right in the bottom center, there are 4 round buttons.
Yes.
The left one is tracking.
Oh, okay. Yes, I see that.
That turns it on and off.
Now it's off.
Yep. And
Okay.
you can recenter it. There's a little, the gimbal control on the right. There's a little circle. You can click those arrows to move the frame around so it gets centered just the way you want it. Because right now, since you turned off tracking, yeah, there you go. Look at that. You're a real producer now.
That's
Certainly a
pretty
camera
amazing.
operator. Yeah.
You recommend good things.
It's pretty great. It's a great little package.
Yeah, that was great. Okay.
All right. Shall we do this thing now?
Yeah, let's do
Now that
it.
we've had our tech support session, our entertainment kibitz, here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
Okay, it's a big day, Nikki. It's a big day.
It's a big day. We are co-authors.
We are. We've been talking about it. We've been talking about it so far, but this is the day. As the public hears this episode, we are just under a week from the actual release date of our book on Unapologetically ADHD. And what we decided to do to give you a taste, because we're also podcasters, is for the next 5 weeks, we are going to be talking about some concept from the book to give you an idea of what the book is about.
That's right.
because we would, we would love you to buy the book. We'd love you to check it out and see if it helps you because we think it has an interesting set of perspectives and we're proud of it. So that's what we're going to do. Today, we're talking about how ADHD impacts planning because the book is fundamentally a planning book. We're going to read a little bit each week. We're just going to share. We're going to share. And we hope that is interesting whether you want the book or not. We hope that the concepts are interesting to you and that you stick around and stick through it and ask questions just because we're excited about it. We're nerds about it right now.
That's right.
It's
So
it's a
true.
pretty book, and it's about to be in our hands. And
And
actually,
we're very
maybe
excited.
by next week, but probably the week after, as we record this, we will have the pre-shipped
Oh,
copies in our hands, and
can you imagine?
that's weird. Right now, we just
That's
have the
really
PDFs.
strange.
So anyhow, here we are. That's what we're going to talk about. You can learn more about us at Take Control ADHD everywhere you can find us. And we would love you to do that. And we will be posting some more stuff. Nikki and I, we made reels together
We
for
made
Instagram.
reels and they're awesome and they're
Oh my
funny.
God.
And we did a bonus show too that people need to
We
know
did.
about that is for Patreon members. So if you're interested in learning more about the behind the scenes and how the book came
Yeah.
together, we did a really fun show around that too.
I'm going to skip all the other stuff. You don't need to know any of the other stuff. Let's just get right into it. We're
Let's
talking
get
about the
into
book.
it.
Let's talk about the book. All right. Unapologetically ADHD, a step-by-step framework for everyday planning on your terms. Today, how ADHD impacts planning. Nikki, how would you like to open our 5-week conversation? The Olympic Games, extended Olympic Games of ADHD books.
Well, you know what? We start with really the first section of the book, right? The next 5 episodes are going to be in the order of the book. And we start with how ADHD impacts planning because it's really important to have a better understanding of why planning is such a challenge for those with ADHD. And I want to do a little bit more of a deep dive definition of what we mean by planning, specifically towards the book, because planning could be anything. It could be planning your day, your week, your life, your birthday party. I mean, it can be right. It can be so many different things.
Right.
Specifically for this book, we are talking about planning for your day and your week. And then we do talk a little bit at the very end about long term planning, but we only go to quarterly goals because this is not a book about your life in the sense of what do I want to do with my life or what are my
Mm-hmm.
goals in 10 years from now? Like that's not what we're not paying attention to that piece. We're talking about the now,
Maybe
which
that's book
is
2. We don't
yeah,
know yet.
maybe that's book
Might be.
2. But most people that I know that live with ADHD, that is where they are. They're in the now, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they have the most trouble with and is the most frustrating. So, we are talking about time management, how you spend your time. Yes, there is some productivity things here because when you are able to plan your week and have a better idea of what you need to do and plan that out on the calendar, of course, you're going to be more productive. Um, but the book is not always it's not centered around just getting more done. We really want you to be thoughtful and intentional on what you're getting done and how you're spending your time, how you're organizing and prioritizing what's most important to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it that made this focus on planning for ADHDers so important for ADHDers who already think they plan?
I have found in my experience with my membership and working with one-on-one clients, and really the focus of my work for the last 2 to 3 years has been around planning. And what I found is that most people with ADHD do not plan like they have ADHD. They
Okay,
almost
this is huge. Why?
this is so big. Because it's almost like you want to deny the fact that your ADHD is disrupting your life. And
Hmm.
so what I'd like to do instead is I want to put these really high expectations on myself and think that I can get all of these things done in a day. But then I get disappointed and then the shame starts to happen where why can't I do this? And you start comparing yourself to everybody else thinking that they can do this, but really you don't know if they can do this or not. Like
Hmm.
you're not walking in anybody else's shoes to figure out how much stuff they're getting done on their to-do list. But it leads to such high expectations and such disappointment. And so when we don't look at our ADHD and say, okay, this is something we need to factor in, then you're always going to have this unrealistic expectation that you're never going to meet. And if you do, even one day, then you're going to look at that one day and think, well, I did it that one day. Why can't I do it every day?
Yes.
It's just never going to serve you. And
Well,
so,
not to ignore the fact that all the planning, like how to plan, how to get things done, getting things done, like all the resources for planning assume you don't have ADHD. So why
right.
would you plan like you have ADHD when you've been taught time and again by people who don't, right?
And this is why we wrote the
Yes,
book.
this is why we wrote the book, and this is why it's so important that we at least throw out all the ideas of planning and say, look, what happens if you sit down and just sit in the space where you are aware of your own ADHD before you start planning your day and your week and your month
Yes.
and your quarter? What would that be like
Yes.
if you
What would
did
that
that?
be
If you
like?
just knew up
Yeah.
front that it might be different for you? What
Yes.
kind of permission would you have to give yourself? What sort of patience would you have to give yourself to plan
Hmm.
like that? And that's what I mean. That's really the intention. So let's talk about the big three, can we? The big three um,
Yes.
tools.
Their executive functions is
Hmm.
basically what we're talking about. So ADHD is challenged with having these set of cognitive abilities that is known as executive function. So probably once you were diagnosed with ADHD, you heard this word, what are executive functions? And basically they're the mental skills that help us manage our daily lives. So the ones that impact planning specifically are organization, prioritization, time management, distractions, working memory, adaptability, set shifting, and emotional regulation. So these are all things that we talk about in the book. But what I want to focus on are these three today: organization, prioritization, and time management, because these are the three areas that we talk a lot about in the book and giving you different ways to figure this out, with your ADHD, planning with your ADHD. So, with organization, planning, we are organizing your projects and tasks. And what we want to do is break them down into actual steps. This is difficult to do when you're not clear about how you want to organize your projects or tasks. If you're not clear on how to break down projects, if you get really overwhelmed or you're looking at everything as a whole and not individually, all of this can be really difficult. When you don't have a trusted calendar or a task manager, and we call this a work box in the book because we use our own different kind of terminology because that's what Pete and I do. Uh, and as Pete has said, this is where your work lives. Your work lives in your calendar. It tells you what you need to do, and your task manager is what you have. Or I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong. Your calendar is telling you where you need to be, and your task manager is telling you what you need to do. But it's really hard to trust either one of them if everything is everywhere and you don't have a system or a way to work with these tools, right? So this is a big part of what we're talking about in the book. And then prioritization is so difficult for the ADHD mind to figure out what needs to be done today because everything feels urgent. You feel like you're always behind, everything is late. Even if that's not true, it's the feeling, and emotions are running high, right? When you're looking at these lists, overwhelm kicks in, nothing gets done, all that shame spiral hits. There's a lot of should have, could have's that just keep going on in your mind. So, in the book, we're going to help you figure out how to prioritize. Time management. Okay, that's such a big word, right? Like,
Hmm.
and notice that in our title, we don't talk about time management. We don't really use time management as a selling point. We will talk next week more about the ADHD time zone, which is why it's so important for you to think about your ADHD when you plan, because your perceptions of time are off, right? So if you're planning like you don't have ADHD, you it's very difficult to plan because you're going to be completely off. Things are going to take longer than you expect. Some things are going to take less time than what you expect. A whole day feels like a long time, but it goes by really fast. So there's a lot of things in that area that we have to explore. So when you take these three executive functions and others that we explain in the book, you can start to see why, oh, this is difficult for my ADHD mind. No wonder I hate doing it. No wonder I do it once and then not want to do it again, because these are very, hard things to do.
Yeah, they're incredibly hard, and I think so much of this, you open this with executive function. So much of this is because of the tricks that we play on ourselves, and this is where I wanted to do a reading. Is that okay?
Please.
I don't know.
Yes.
This might be too long, too short. I don't know. I'm just going to go with it, and we'll see what
This
you
is
think.
from the book.
It's from the book, and it opens. It's from one of my sections early in the book, and it opens with me talking to Jordan. Jordan is my friend who has ADHD, my friend who does not exist, but I just needed someone to talk to in my part of the book, and so Jordan exists, and I hope eventually you see some of yourself in Jordan. But Pete, you're saying you haven't once said executive function. I know, Jordan, and that's a terrific segue. See, our ADHD is marked by wildly inconsistent performance, in no small part because our executive functioning dial has been busted right off our neurological console. That means we get to have days where we are outstanding, days that are written about by bards and told to our children's children. We also have days that are marked by such standards as barely getting out of bed, that conditions us to set expectations of high performance, believing we can do anything anytime we set out to do it, and only meeting those standards some of the time. Intermittent reinforcement drives us batty, giving us the benefit of visions of success fractured into pieces by disappointment. The result is self-image of someone capable of doing hard things. If only we could work hard enough to do it this time, the same time we did it last time. The other switch on our executive function console that's all busted up is the chaos control function. Because we feel out of control so often, our drive to regain it, to find order in disorder, can fuel perfectionistic tendencies. We have to watch that, Jordan, because if you're anything like me, when I push on that control function, I can become downright disagreeable. Accidentally cultivating an atmosphere of contention in an effort to control chaos gets in the way of building relationships of trust and respect with others, and no one wants to solve hard problems with a jerk. I've been a jerk before. I'm sure I'll be a jerk again. I don't like myself when I'm in that space. Being aware and talking about how I am feeling in a given situation with the people who matter to me helps to ground me and return me from the more maladaptive strivings of perfectionism. Rejection sensitivity is a non-trivial component of perfectionism. Ask yourself, how do you carry rejection? For me, it's heavy. The slightest criticism can become an extraordinary weight, dragging me into that dangerous territory of hyperfocus on the worst parts of my identity. This might normally be the part where I tell you that you should just change your mindset, right? Go ahead. Stop doing that thing, Jordan. Stop focusing on the bad stuff that brings you down. But I can't tell you that. Living with ADHD, we know that just telling ourselves to stop doing a thing because it's damaging to our psyche is a fool's game. You felt bad before, you'll feel bad again. No one feels good all the time. Such a downer, right? But you can't solve ADHD. You can't cure it. You can't skip with it through a field of sunflowers and butterflies. Anything that you try to do to hide from the fact that you have ADHD is a con, and that sucks. What if, instead, you were to rewire that relationship? What if you were to go to bed tonight with the thought in your head that you are in a partnership with your ADHD, that you are a coach working with a different part of you, a player that has different skills than you do? That part of you, the ADHD player inside you, brings talents that you wouldn't know how to harness on your own. Your job becomes not one of stamping down on that part of you, distancing yourself from the player forever. Your job is to nurture them, cultivate them, celebrate their victories, and thoughtfully coach them through their troubles.
Mm.
What do you think? Was that okay?
I love it. I love it. And I hope everybody else loves it too.
Well,
This
it's
is
fun.
it well, it's beautiful and you're such a great writer and it brings such life to the book. So yes, that's a piece that
Well,
you have to look forward to.
it
It's
gets
wonderful.
to the thing that it drives me batty about what we were talking about. It's and why planning is so hard for me. It's because those dials are broken, right? It's the
Yeah.
experience of, having to balance my own inner perfectionistic tendencies
Mm-hmm.
against a scale that was not created for me,
For you, yeah, right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
That's the hard part. That's the
Yeah.
trick that our brains play on us. And that's what we have to rewire.
We have to rewire it and we also, I mean, that's why the book's title is Unapologetically ADHD, because we
Hmm.
want you to start living your life without having to apologize for who you are or how you like to work, or that you do get distracted every once in a while or all the time, like whatever it might be, on if it's a great day or a bad day, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. I love how your stories tie into the message of the book, and how the it's just it's great. It's great.
Well,
So
that
much more
leads
to
us
say, but we
to,
can't say it
well,
all one
we
right.
can't say
Like
it
we
all.
can't say it all today. So
Yeah, right. But I do want to talk about this because I think you're teasing your way into radical acceptance, right? Which is about this experience of how we see ourselves.
yes, and this was really important for me to put in the book because I was inspired by a book that I did a book club on, from Sari Solden and Dr. Michelle Frank, A Radical Guide for Women with ADHD, and they talk about radical acceptance, and I was really touched by that book. It really resonated a lot of different ways with the women that I had done the book club with, and I wanted to put something in this book about radical acceptance because that's really what we're asking when you're saying you're going to be unapologetically ADHD. You're radically accepting something. And the definition of acceptance, of just acceptance, is the action of consenting to receive or undertake something offered. I don't love this definition, right? Because I
Yeah,
don't think that many people with ADHD feel as they have consented to having ADHD. Like it wasn't
yeah,
a choice, right? This wasn't
right.
something that they said, yeah, sure, go ahead and give this to my brain. I like radical acceptance better because it means you let go of the need to control, judge, and wish things were different than they are. So it doesn't mean that you must like what's happening. It means you no longer resist something you cannot change. And it means to give yourself the same self compassion as you would someone you love. And that is so much of what you were talking about in your
Yeah,
passage, your essay too,
yeah,
is that it's not resisting it. And
yeah.
so, that's really I just think such an important piece to sit on and think about.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's the mission certainly of our of us coming together to write the book
Mm-hmm.
is that we hope that by the end, at least of this first section, you see yourself not as somebody who has to just constantly adjust and adapt to unpredictability of their brain, but somebody who um, accepts a reality, because once you accept the reality, you can move forward and make change. And it
Absolutely.
doesn't have to look like somebody else's reality. It really does not.
And it teaches
And
that muscle or builds that muscle around being flexible and being resilient on those days that ADHD shows up the loudest.
yeah,
And absolutely, it does those things. Now, next week we're going to explore this ADHD time zone. What you need to know about your own habits in order to be a better planner, and that's going to give you quite a bit of insight. In the book, there's lots of different questions and exercises and things for you to do, because you got to learn more about who you are.
yeah. Time does not equal time for the
Mm-mm.
ADHDer. And we're going to
No, it
talk
does
all about
not.
that next week. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us and indulging us as we kind of explore what we've created. We're, again, we're really excited about it. We hope you will help extend and embrace that excitement. And you can find it at takecontroladhd.com/ADHD book. Should be easy to remember right there on the website. The release date is September 4th. So as this drops to the public, nay, 6 days from now, on release day, and we've got more coming up. I've got links to. We do have a question about the other formats of the book. Is it available for pre-order as an ebook? I think they told us something about that, right?
They did. So for retailers, they typically do not put that available until a week before the publishing date. So if you want the ebook, I would check like Amazon a week before September 4th.
So as this goes live to the public, the ebook should be available.
It should be available. Yeah. Right.
Right. And hardcover ships September. Right now we're hearing it should be delivered on or about September 4th.
Right.
It is officially released September 4th. So thank you all. Thank you all so much. Thanks for your time and your attention. TakeControlADHD.com/ADHD book. That's it for us. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. We'll see you next week right here on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast. Okay. Yeah, that ebook. I want that. Because I think you actually get it the week before too. I think that's the golden loophole. My friend wrote a book that was not supposed to be available for purchase until the release day of the book, and I bought it and sent her a screenshot, and she was shocked.
Oh,
she had not been told. So I think that's actually a trick. You might be able to get it even earlier.
And that's the thing about Amazon specifically, because that's where our questions are coming from, is that we have no control over like what is the preview, what's not the preview. Like the only thing that we have control over is the written content, and even that, when we've asked for changes, it doesn't come right away. Yeah. So it's a lot of out of our hands for sure. Yeah, but we're first time authors. We're just waiting to see kind of what happens. So. But it will be available. It will be, and it will be an audio book as well, but that's still a few months away.
4 to 6 months.
But man, I think you should send in your tape there of reading your part and have that be your audition.
I don't want to do it without you reading the other part.
I
that
know.
Would be ridiculous. No, Marion just asked that question. Who will be voicing the audiobook? We don't know. There is a stable of great audiobook readers who do it efficiently and effectively, and they get through it on very few takes. And there are people who are fans of readers who buy books if they're interested in them because of the person who's reading the book. So we were told. We said, would we be approached to read the book? And they said, their answer was, you could audition. And we kind of said, we're podcasters. Like, I think people know our voices, and they're like, yeah, I mean, you could audition. So.
But it also just reaffirms that we're not famous enough to be asked.
Yeah,
like we weren't just asked to do this. We can audition to be ourselves. But
we can audition to be ourselves. Yeah. That's really funny. Can you ask them to have a seductive voice? I don't know. Do we want our book to be read seductively? Maybe.
Probably
I'm not saying
not.
It would. That might keep it,
It might keep it interesting.
Titillating ADHD.
Yeah.
Our past guest, Mandy Kaplan, is a professional voiceover and broadcast or an audiobook reader. That's like her day job all day long, is reading audiobooks. And she does read a selection of romance books. One of the things that got her the job of reading some of these books, she's all over Audible, is that she was the commercial voice for Playboy TV. And so a show would end on Playboy TV. It's on a clip on her website. And it's her voice saying, "Coming up next." And I like, oh my God, I know that person. This is very, very disconcerting.
This is really strange.
Yeah. Coming up next on Playboy TV. It's back to the sorority.
Funny.
I mean, it's so bad.
Funny. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's
Well,
pretty
the only
terrible.
request we had is that it was, yours was a male and mine was a
Yeah.
female. Like, can we at least be right with the sexes? Like, let's
And
get that
yeah,
right.
that the voices sound
But
different, right?
yeah, yeah. So we'll
So,
see.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
good stuff. It was fun.
yeah, I think so.
Well,
I
good.
guess I
Well,
guess we're good. Thanks
I
everybody.
think so.
Thanks for
Thank you,
hanging out.
everyone.
We're gonna head out. We'll see you next time. End stream. Goodbye, stream.